Hi everyone in Algebra 2B. Today we're going to be going over your questions on lesson 109A, starting on number 3. So for number 3, it says Lucretius could cover the 63 miles to Pompeii in 11 more hours than it took Cassius to drive 60 miles to Rome. Find the rates and times of both if Lucretius traveled at half the speed of Cassius. So it says that the distance of Lucretius is going to be equal to 63, and the distance of Cassius is going to be equal to 60. It says that the time of Lucretius is 11 more hours than the time of Cassius. And it also tells me something about their rate. It says that Lucretius traveled in half the speed of Cassius. So the rate of Lucretius is half the rate of Cassius. So I know that distance is equal to rate times time. So I have RLTL equals 63. And then I have RCTC is equal to 60. So I'm going to plug in my RL, which is equal to 1/2 RC times TL, which is going to be TC plus 11 equals 63. I'm going to distribute that. So I get 1/2 RCTC plus 11 over 2 RC equals 63. I know that RCTC is equal to 60, so that would be 1/2 of 60 plus 11 over 2 RC equals 63. Well, if I, this becomes 30, move the 30 to the other side, I'm going to get 11 over 2 RC is equal to 33. And if I multiply by the reciprocal, I get RC is equal to 6. Well, if RC is equal to 6, and RCTC is equal to 60, I quickly find out that TC is equal to 10. Now, if RC is equal to 6, then RL is half of that, so that means RL is going to be equal to 3. And once I plug the TC into here, I know that TL is going to be 21. Because 11 plus 10 is 21. Now looking at number 4, I have Dr. Steve held the volume of a quantity of an ideal gas constant at 400 milliliters. The original pressure and temperature were 800 and 400. What would be the final pressure if the temperature were raised by 1200? So normally we have an equation of P1V1 over T1 equals P2V2 over T2. But it says that the volume is held constant. I know that the original pressure is 800, original temperature is 400. So 800 over 400 equals, we're trying to solve for the final pressure if the original if the temperature is now 1200. Cross multiplication is going to give me 400x equals 800 times 1200. I'm going to divide both sides by 400. So x is going to be equal to 2400. Okay. Next, we're going to look at number 5. It says Tom and Zoli had 600 milliliters of a 46% alcohol solution that had to be reduced to a 40% solution by extracting pure alcohol. So we have solution, we're extracting, so we're subtracting, so that we get a final solution. Our original solution is 46%, and we have 600 milliliters of it. We're subtracting only alcohol, so that's 100%. And we need to end up with a 40% solution. And we'd start with 600, and then we'd take away X amount of it. Now multiplying that through, you get 46 times 600 minus 100X equals 40 times 600 minus X. I'm going to multiply that through. So you get 46 times 600 would be 27,600 minus 100X equals 40 times 600 be 24,000 minus 40X. I'm going to bring this to the other side. Bring this to the other side. So I end up with 60X is equal to 3,600. Divide that by 60. And you get X is equal to 60 milliliters. So it says how much pure alcohol should be extracted. Well, we're going to take away 60 milliliters. Now moving on to number 10. So I'm going to set N equal to this number with my repeating decimal. Since there's only 2 repeating decimals, I just need to multiply this by 100. So 100N, 1, 2 would make this 102.342, 42, repeating. So now when I subtract these, the 42 and the repeating decimal 42 would go away. And now I have 900 or 100 minus N would be 99N. And then I have 102.342 minus 1.023, which would give me 101.319. We're going to divide that by 99. We need to move the decimal point over 3 spaces. So my answer is going to be 101,319 over 99,000. Now looking at number 12, the first thing that I have to do is I'm going to put all of my x's in parentheses. So I have y, and I have negative x squared plus 4x minus 1. I have to factor out the minus 1 to make this x squared minus 4x minus 1. You can't complete the square with something attached to your x squared. Now I'm going to take half of my negative 4. So that would be x minus 2 squared. When I square the 4, I'm going to add 4. But remember that this is actually a negative 4, so I'm actually going to add 4 to the outside as well. Because remember, you do the opposite to the outside. So 4 minus 1 would be 3. This minus sign tells me that the parabola is going to open down. The x minus 2 is going to be my axis of symmetry, so I set that equal to 0. So x is equal to 2. And this is going to be my vertex where I'm going to start on that 2. So at positive 2, I'm going to have a dotted line like this. Then up 3, I'm going to have my vertex. Now from here, I'm going to go over 1, down 1, in either direction. And then I'm going to go over 2 down 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to happen in both directions. And then I'm going to connect the dots. And that would be your result for number 12. Now for number 13, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to separate out my inequalities. So I have -2 is not less than x plus 2. And then I'm going to have x plus 2 is greater than -4. So for this one, I'm going to address the slash through the negative, or through the inequality, which means I flip it and then I add an equal sign. So that would be -2 is greater than or equal to x plus 2. Then I'm going to move the 2 to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 2. So I have -4 is greater than or equal to x. I always want my x to be on the left, so I'm just going to flip everything. So x is going to be less than or equal to -4. So all I did was basically mirror the whole thing. Now for this next one, I'm going to move the 2 to the other side. So that's going to be x is greater than -6. Now I'm going to make my number line. The domain is real, so it's just going to be a dot with an arrow, not going to be the points. So on -6, I am going to have an open circle. On -4, I'm going to have a filled-in circle. It says it's going to be less than -4, which is to the left, and it's going to be to the right of -6 if you put the line in the alligator's mouth, which means that we're going to connect our 2 points. And that is your number line. Now looking at number 14. So for number 14, I'm going to multiply the top equation by 15 to get rid of the denominator and multiply the bottom equation by 100. To get rid of the decimal numbers. So the top is going to become 6x minus 5y equals 15. Bottom equation is going to turn into 30x minus 5y equals 255. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do elimination because I can multiply this top equation by -1 and I would end up eliminating the y. So that'd be -6x plus 5y equals -15 added to the bottom equation of 30x minus 5y equals 255. Now the y's are going to cancel and you're going to get 24x is equal to 255 minus 15 would be 240. So x is equal to 10. Now that I know what x is equal to, I'm going to take that and plug it into the top equation. So I have 6 times 10, minus 5y equals 15. Well, 6 times 10 is 60, so I'm going to subtract 60 from both sides. And you get -5y is equal to -45. And I'm going to divide that by -5, so y is equal to 9. Now lastly, we're going to look at number 15. So I'm going to start by solving for the top equation for x, and that would give me x is equal to 2y plus 5. So if I plug that in, I have 2y plus 5 times y equals 3. I'm going to distribute and bring the 3 to the left side. So it would be 2y squared plus 5y minus 3 equals 0. Now to solve for y, I'm going to either do quadratic formula or complete the square. And since I think I did quadratic formula on the last one, I'm going to complete the square. So I'm going to divide everything by 2 and move the 3 over 2 to the other side. So I get y squared plus 5 over 2 equals 3 over 2. Now I'm going to take half of the 5 over 2, which would make it 5 over 4. So if y plus 5 over 4. And when I square it, I get 25 over 16. And you need a common denominator of 16. So I have 24 plus 25, which is 49. And you're going to take the square root of both sides. So I have y plus 5 over 4 equals plus or minus. The square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 16 is 4. That means y is going to be equal to negative 5 over 4 plus or minus 7 over 4. If I do negative 5 plus 7, I get 2 over 4, which would simplify to 1/2. And then if I do negative 5 minus 7, I would have negative 12 over 4, which would be negative 3. And now I need to solve for x. So x will be equal to 2 times 1/2 plus 5. The 2's cancel, so I really have x is equal to 1 plus 5, which is 6. Then for the next one, I have x is equal to 2 times negative 3 plus 5. So negative 6 plus 5 would be negative 1. And my result will be 6, 1/2 for this first answer. And then negative 1, negative 3 for the second answer. And that concludes your questions from lesson 108B. I hope you guys all have a great day.